Okay. Let's get this thing right. Why did I decide to move to Miami, Florida when I had literally everything going for me in my life? Why not? So in 2018, I had just moved back from Arizona, which that's a whole story in itself. I'm gonna have to tell you guys that another time. It was right before COVID, and I was coming off a very tough year. I had just moved back to Columbus, Ohio. I moved back to Columbus, and things were going really well for me. Things started to pick back up. Like I said, I was coming off a hard time in Arizona. I just graduated from Ohio State. And when I say I took off, I took off. I was DJing for like every sports team, every club you could think of. I had a nice place in the city, downtown. Like, man, life was good. Life was smooth. Fast forward, things are still going good. My brand is doing great. I'm very well known around the city. At this point, the brand is doing so good, I don't even have to ask for gigs. And this is not me trying to be arrogant, braggadocious, anything like that. But life was good. Life was great. And it got to a point where people were starting to say things that would seem like compliments, but to me, I felt like I was getting boxed in. People would say, "Oh, like, man, you're Mr. Columbus," or "Oh, you're the mayor of the city." You know how people say things like, jokingly, but whatever. And funny enough, I never thought any of that stuff was like enticing. I was like, no, I actually don't like that. I feel like you're trying to box me in, and I'm not the kind of guy that likes to be boxed in. And this would start to happen, time after time. I would hear it. And I always knew for me that I wanted to go so far in life. I wanted to see how far could I take it. No matter if it's here in Miami, if it's in New York, how far can I take the things in my life that I'm doing? Whether it's DJing, whether it's stuff like this, vlogging, whether it's, being a runner, how far can I go? That's just how my mind works. Like, I want to see what limit can I take it to. So this past year, I got a corporate job, and mind you, I've worked some odd jobs in my life before, through college and things like that. I worked at like a sunglass hut and, some other jobs at the mall and, side gigs, things like that. But for the most part, I've always been DJing. And I got to a certain point in my life where I was like, okay, I need to grow up. I need some stability in my life. I need some insurance. I need a consistent check, because if you're an entrepreneur, you know that it's like that. It's a roller coaster. Some months you're making a lot of money. Some months you're like, yo, am I gonna be able to pay my rent this month? I don't know. We'll see. So that's just kind of how it was. And I just turned 30, and I had this 30-year-old mindset. Like, okay, I'm an adult. I got to grow up. I got to have insurance. I have to have a stable job. Like, being a DJ past 30, I'm like, no, like, that's so weird. People are going to look at me funny. And I had that corporate job, and honestly, I love that job. How I got that, that's also another story from another day. There's a lot of stories within the stories here. But I got the job, and I loved it. I had a great salary. I was probably making I think I was making 65 or 70K. Not bad for your first corporate job, right? And I was really good at it. I hit my quota both quarters I was there, and I had really good relationships with my colleagues and my bosses, and things were smooth. But I was still DJing at the same time. So it got to a point where this job was so demanding, which was fine. That was the nature of the job. And my DJ business was also demanding. So I would literally be working on like a Wednesday and have to go work the minor league baseball games right after work. I would be gone from like 7 a.m. to like not even 7 p.m. Like, that's when the game would start, to like 9 or 10 p.m. It was literally the longest days of my life. And this was going on week after week after week, especially in the summer. And then it carried on to the fall. I was DJing for the Columbus Crew, and I'd work all week and have a game on Saturday and Sunday. I'd try to catch up on sleep, things like that. But I was just kind of, I was pushing myself way too hard. And I got to a place where I was like, okay, I need to make a decision. Am I going to stay at this job and stop DJing, or am I going to go all in on DJing and trust in my capabilities and trust in my talents and know that like everything is going to work out? Yes, it might not always be stable. Yes, there might be times where it's scary, but do I trust myself enough to figure it out? So I went with option B. I put in my notice to my job and I gave them a month. I was like, look, I appreciate you guys. You've been nothing but good to me. I'm going to give you a month. But I'm not quitting just because I want to go back to DJing. I'm quitting because I don't even think I'm going to be in Ohio next year. And the moment I told people that I wanted to move, it's literally like they saw a ghost. They're like, what? You're going to leave Ohio? You're going to leave Columbus? Why would you do that? That's so stupid. You literally have everything here. Like you're this, the DJ for this, the DJ for this, the DJ for that. But in my heart, I knew that I wanted what I wanted. I wanted to do what I wanted to do. And I knew that there was something bigger, something better waiting for me, more that I could do. So when it came down to looking for a place, I had thought about a couple different cities. I looked at Austin. I thought about Chicago, obviously here in Miami. I thought about Charlotte for some weird reason. Charlotte was on my list. And that was about it. I narrowed it down to Miami. It had the best weather, quick flights back to Ohio, very transient area. And I just felt like there was a lot of opportunities here and just the type of people you meet, just walking down the street. So I chose Miami and I was flying back and forth looking at apartments for me and my roommate and just really trying to figure out if this is really going to be my next move. And when I tell you every time I flew down here, now mind you, I'd been in Miami to party before, but like to actually look at places and be inside of the apartments and, get the feel for like what it would feel like to live here. I was like, no, this is it. This is where I want to be. This is where I have to be. I feel so alive here. I feel like myself here. I'm also someone that suffers from seasonal depression. And that was another reason I had to get out of Ohio. And I always thought seasonal depression was like this mythical thing, like, oh, seasonal depression. And then I found out, no, it's real. Like you can actually have depression from the gloom and the doom and the gray and the rain and the snow, the sun, because Ohio is like the most bipolar state I've ever seen. And so I knew that I was like, I got to be somewhere where mentally I can like thrive from like being outside more, being active. I'm an active guy, like, so this is one, it's just going to help my mental. So I'm flying back and forth, between Ohio and Miami, working with a realtor. He wasn't really, helping me too much. He was helping me a lot, but like the places he was showing me, I was like, no, I don't like any of these places. They don't fit my vibe. They don't fit the type of aesthetic I want. So I started doing some research on my own and I found this place, which I love. I love this place. It's been amazing living here. It's like the perfect area for me. So, we go through this whole process, and of course, it's never as easy as you would hope for it to be. So when I lived in Arizona, like I said, that's another story for another day. But I lived in Arizona. I had to move early because things got bad for me, and I just had to get out before they got worse. So I left Arizona, and my roommate was there on his own. I'm still paying him rent every month. I'm paying double rent at the time, mind you. So I go to apply for this apartment. I had just, improved my credit score. My money's been up. I'm like, yo, this should be the easiest apartment application I've ever filled out. They're like, yo, have you ever been evicted? Excuse me? Yeah, it says on your screening report that you've been evicted before. I said, I've never in my life been evicted. I was like, how would I even lived in other apartments if I've been evicted? So then we had this whole thing of, me trying to figure out where this is coming from. And when I tell y'all, this was the most like painful experience I had to go through for an apartment just because it made no sense. So I called my old apartment. I'm like, hey, this apartment is saying I've been evicted. Do you guys have that on your records? They're like, no, we don't. We have that you guys left paid in full. You did what you're supposed to do. We don't have that on our records. I'm like, well, why is it showing that I was evicted from you guys? So then I had to call like the courts in Arizona, Maricopa County, and they're saying, oh, well, we do have it on our record, and you're gonna have to pay this thing. And I'm like, well, why do I have to pay if I never got evicted? So it was like this crazy thing, and like I had to wait like weeks for an appeal, and then they're like, oh, sorry, we can't appeal this. Like it's just, you're just gonna kind of have to be stuck with it. So luckily the people here, like they worked with me and they're like, just prove that you paid, that you weren't evicted, and I got it all figured out, and you know, we moved in. So fast forward, we moved here, and I just knew that these next couple of months were gonna be very tough for me because I still had a lot of things lined up in Ohio, and I had just moved to Miami. So that same spring, summer, I had got a Southwest credit card, and if you spend a certain amount of money on it, you get 75,000 points. So that summer, I got the credit card, paid my rent from my old apartment on there, which got me to almost a 3K with obviously other purchases, but I got the 75,000 points on top of the other points that I had, which really helped me out so much because then I was able to fly back and forth through the summer and not have to pay for as many flights as I would have, you know, without the points. So that helped me out a lot. And, you know, I didn't really know how life here was going to go, especially as a DJ. You know, you're new to the scene and you know, you're trying to meet people, but I'm barely here. I'm flying on the weekends. And, you know, it was tough. It was tough, you know, trying to network and things like that. You know, I tried to do stuff during the week, but yeah, I really had no idea what was next for me until one day I get a message on LinkedIn. And the message said, hey, our client is very interested in having you come work for us with the Big Ten Network, the tailgate show. If you're interested, let me know and we can, you know, talk. I was like, okay, whatever, LinkedIn, like scam. It's always a scam on LinkedIn. People always trying to hit you for something. I'm like, whatever. Then I was like, let's just see. Let's see if this works. So I hit him back up. Sure enough, it's real. And this was basically a huge opportunity for me. I had just come off working for Ohio State, mind you, and I had to tell them like, hey, I'm not going to be able to do this season because I just got a job with the Big Ten Network. So I do that, and now I'm not only flying from Ohio to Miami, I'm flying to Purdue, I'm flying to Indiana, I'm flying to Illinois, and just all these places, then driving back to Columbus and trying to make it work. So when I tell y'all this was like the longest, hardest, most tiring years of my life, not even years, 6 to 8 months of my life, bruh. It was tough, but definitely worth it. Now, do I think that I would have gotten that job if I still lived in Ohio? Yeah, probably. But something inside me just wants to believe that if I never would have taken that leap to move, then I wouldn't have been rewarded with an opportunity like that. And to tie everything back in, sorry, sometimes I feel like I ramble here, but whatever. To tie everything back in, I feel that life rewards you when you take those leaps. And I knew that there was so much more waiting for me. I knew that I had so much more inside of me. Pause. I knew that my potential had not even reached its peak yet. And I just kind of figured that if I was in a place where most of the people around me were, you know, just as talented, just as creative, just as hardworking, if not more hardworking, then it would help me elevate as well. And sometimes you just have to put yourself in an environment to where your back is against the wall and you're the new guy. Because like I said, in Columbus, I had it. But here, it's like, yo, bro, who are you? We don't know who you are. We don't, not that they don't care, but we don't care who you are. So it was me basically putting myself in a situation to say, okay, let's go do it again. You've done it before. You've put in the work before. You've shown how talented you are before. Your back's been up against the wall countless times. Can you do it again? Can you duplicate what you've just done in the past 3 to 5 years? If you can do that, then the sky is the limit. And so, yeah, that was a big reason I moved, is to just challenge myself and to just push myself and to just really mentally put myself in a better place and to just really show not just everyone else, but just me, that I can do anything I put my mind to, no matter if it's a city like Miami, a city like New York, LA, Paris, like it doesn't matter. Oh, by the way, Paris, new paper hat. Shout out American Eagle. But just really showing myself that, no, I have the capabilities, I have the talent, I have the drive, I have the ambition, I have the creativity, the intelligence, like I have the charisma, the character to do anything I want, anywhere I want. And so that's why I decided to move. And that's why we're here today. It's 2025 and it's time to just get after it. It's time to go for it and to really prove to myself that I am who I say that I am.